And welcome back. I am so excited that you tuned in today because we have such an inspiring and amazing lineup of women. Not always is it about the women, but we all know that I love to highlight people that bring value and impact to our communities, whether it be through their philanthropy, their work, or just sometimes their messaging. And today's guest is no different. We are with Alyscia Cunningham today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing so fantastic. I am really looking forward to hearing your TEDx talk, which is obviously coming up at the end of October. But
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for the opportunity to get you on the show and really highlight a little bit about your journey and your story and who you are. So tell us a little bit about who Alyscia is.
Yes, so I am. Thank you for having me. First of all, I look forward to having this conversation and the TEDx talk. I'm excited. It's my first TEDx. And I'm an author, film director, photographer, a mother. I'm multifaceted. And my work is pretty much, so you mentioned it, is impact. That's important to me. I want people to see my work and feel an impact, to leave with an inspiration or to learning something new. And my work primarily focuses on women and women empowerment and just seeing, and getting ourselves out of challenging situations in all
You know,
aspects.
And I love that. And I think that so many of the things that you just said are so relatable to women because I think that we are sometimes a little bit more emotional than
Right.
men, right?
Yes.
And and at least I could say for myself, I look at things as being tangible. And
Right.
when we're talking about photography and videography, all the things that you just mentioned as a female, I look to words of wisdom to guide me
Right.
every single day. And I hear a lot of people now talking about gratitude and having, just different things to hold on to
Right.
that help them through their journey. So let's talk about how you got started. Like, why was it important to you to get started in that space? And why did you choose women specifically?
Well, that's a long story, but I can make it short.
No, we got time. You go for it, girl.
Okay. So initially, I got started in photography. I went to college, wasn't sure, fell in love with photography. And then, again, long story short, I was working on my second book, I'm More Than My Hair, which is a series of stories of women who've experienced alopecia or hair loss due to a health-related condition. And in the process of, I'm always thinking about marketing. That's just, what I learned through school, and it stuck with me. So everything I do, like I always incorporate marketing with it. And I was taking videos with my little simple, camera, which I was using for photography, and taking short videos of what I thought would be um, used for marketing for a crowdfunding campaign. I figured I'm going to do something, maybe Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and I took it for audience review for a local documentary film group that was just they review trailers, and I was like, well, this is just this is a trailer for my crowdfunding campaign. And at the end, I remember everybody looked at me. It was 5 minutes video, and they were like, "Why are you not a documentarian?" And I was like, no, that's not what I do. I'm a photographer, and they were like, no, this needs to be a documentary. And that's actually how I just jumped into it. I'm glad that I listened to the audience. And I was like, I was already recording. Like, I'm not really sure why I didn't put one and two together, but I just jumped to it and started going back to the same women and recording their stories. And, it won multiple awards. And it was my first film. Yeah.
I love that. So
Yeah.
sometimes we fall into our careers by accident, right?
Right.
Always something that nobody wakes up one day and says, "Hey, today I'm going to do this." And that includes myself. We all have a journey
Right.
that we're on. Now, you did mention you are a mom. How does your work impact your family?
Oh, well, everybody's involved. That's one thing I always make sure that they're not left out. So, I mean, of course, there's times when I have to, like, they may be in school, or my husband is also involved, but everybody is hands on while everybody is available. So if I'm on set, 'cause I do documentary, I also do narrative. So I do documentary and horror, but still with the same theme of women empowerment. So there's an impact within both those realms, but all hands on deck. So if I'm in production, my husband, the children, everybody is supporting and helping. And I think that's important for them to be involved. So it's not just like, okay, mom does this and they have no clue. They know that I may put these pieces together, but not really sure. So I think with them being involved with production, it's a lot not only are they able to have the experience, but then I feel like they have a lot more respect, in that way as well, of being a part of the project and the process. And then now I'm seeing my daughters doing their own little productions, but they did tell me, my husband told me that I feel like you ruined movies for me because now I look at the set and I'm like, oh, I can see the light where the light is coming from, but it's it's fun. It's fun.
We go through that too. I do a lot of philanthropy work and I have 5 kids. And
Okay.
everybody will say to me, "How do you manage to get everything done?" Because I'm the person that'll get the phone call that says, "Hey, we need 100 Easter baskets or we need something." I'm like, "Oh, I got this." And they go, "How?" I go, "Because I have 5 kids." So
Exactly.
I line them up, and it's amazing what happens when you have structure and order in your
Yep.
life. So
Exactly.
my kids, which of course they're growing, I can't all
Right.
say that they're all grown, but they're growing now. My
Right.
youngest is 15, my oldest is 27,
Oh,
but they've now been raised around understanding what philanthropy work is and what volunteerism looks like, and
yes.
that it's just as important sometimes to be behind the scenes and being part of the process and not always on the front line where all the glory is given, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And, I always say to people, I always feel that they've become better humans because they've been able to see what we do in that philanthropy world. And
Mm,
then professionally, yes, I do my podcasting, which I love because it allows me to meet people like you. But I
mhm.
do consulting work. And at home, there'll be times where we're talking through challenges. And I'm
Right.
sure that even with your own business, that
Mhm.
there have been challenges. So let's talk about that for a minute. What do you think right now would be one of your biggest challenges that you face? Would it be time or is it resources? You're still a small business at the end of the day.
Right. Yes. And honestly, it's everything that you mentioned. And as you also mentioned, with them being involved, it does, because people ask me the same thing, like, how are you doing all this? Like, how are you producing this and you get that done, then you have this done? And it is because we're all involved, as a team together. But for me, the biggest challenge, it has been time. It has been, of course, funding for projects. I don't think people understand how expensive production of a film production is. So that's also why helping having those having all hands on deck is helpful. Um, so I've had to learn a lot, instead of I'm not able to get the full funding for an editor, because people don't realize an editor can be like a short film that's 2 minutes can be $10,000, So now I've had to learn how to edit, I've had to learn how to do some web design. Also, and this is just like trying to stretch my resources to figure things out. But time management, because it drives me insane not to be organized. So I have a calendar on my phone. I have a hard calendar on my desk. I check things off my list. That's really important, but that's, I think, keeping that management where I have a focus and I have organization, and then having to learn what's necessary for me in order to face those challenges. That's what I do.
No, and it's every day. And again, a lot of times when people look at somebody who's successful, again, they're looking at the end result.
Right.
They're not looking at all the time, attention, and energy that went into that creation. So with that, if you wanted to start producing a documentary, for example, today, what does that timeline look like?
Ooh, timeline. I thought maybe I can do a documentary in a couple of months. I'm on my second documentary now, but it's my sixth film. My first took me about 4 years. And so I would say timeline is, because it's a learning curve. So if you're filming yourself, because I was a one woman show. My children, my husband was involved when they were available as well. But it took me understanding like you're gonna have to do retakes because you'll make a mistake. I remember went all the way to Jersey and forgot to turn my mic on. So I had to learn that and go back. So I would give a documentary at least 2 years. 3, but I've known people to do documentaries for 20 years. I don't want to do it that long, so but I think like 2 3 year time span of doing the filming. Now you got pre-production, production, and then post-production, which is the editing. um and then after that, your distribution and figuring that part out, which is marketing, because if you have a product and you have no marketing or funds saved over for marketing, then you don't have a product. I mean, it's just sitting there, so I would give it like 2 3 years time span.
See that? And I think most people wouldn't even recognize that we look at the big screen, but I think documentaries are a big difference than that opportunity. Well, I appreciate you so much. I know that you are so busy taking time to speak to us today. So once again, we are speaking with Alyscia Cunningham. I am so excited. I will report back because in just a couple of weeks, I'm going to be seeing her at her first TEDx talk. Until
Okay.
next time, stay tuned. We're getting ready to bring you another guest.